And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at an expansion for Marvel United, the Infinity Gauntlet. Alright, this is the big one, the big expansion, because you're fighting Thanos with the Infinity Stones, well hopefully without the Infinity Stones, and also 3 of his lieutenants. The 4th lieutenant is in the Kickstarter exclusive box. Now, this adds only villains. Most of the expansions add some heroes and villains. This adds only villains. It also adds, it's essentially a campaign. You can play against the villains separately. It doesn't say if you can play against Thanos by himself as an ordinary villain. I think you can, but you're mostly supposed to play him as a campaign. You play through 3 of his lieutenants and then to him himself, and you have to beat him. Here's how it plays. Alright, so there's some new villains included in this expansion. Well, there's actually 4 new villains because there's Thanos, but each of these villains can be played on their own. And I'm actually going to speak a little bit more about these particular villains when I rank all the heroes and villains, but they're all very strong villains to play against. Black Dwarf comes around and just tries to kill you. He's a really strong fighter. She is one of the hardest ones to beat. Actually, she was one of my least favorite villains because trying to reach the track here by killing civilians. And Ebony Maw here, you discard, he's doing crisis tokens to different characters who have to play their card randomly, which also I'm not a big fan of. But this also comes with some new locations that you'll be playing at. So these give you tokens. There's some pretty neat locations here. You can KO another hero in this location and clear a threat card. That's crazy. I mean, it makes sense thematically, but yeah, anyway, some new locations. So in this, you're going to be playing the Infinity Stone Gauntlet. And to do that, what you're going to do is when you play, you're going to play a series of, you're going to play against 3 villains before you play against Thanos. You can play the 3 here, you can play any 3 villains, it doesn't matter. But you're going to take these Infinity Stone cards, so you have the Mind Stone, the Soul Stone, the Reality Stone, the Space Stone, the Time Stone, and the Power Stone. You're going to shuffle these, and you're going to put 3 of them in the villain's deck. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 card. You put 1 here. 7, 8, 9, 10th card. You'll put 1 there, and then 1 on the very bottom. Now, whenever it's time for one of these to come out, you just put this aside. Basically, Thanos has got that stone. And if he gets all 6 stones, which means if you let all 3 give him 2 stones, or you let 2 of them give 3, or whatever, you automatically lose the campaign. And in fact, I've never actually gotten past that point because I've always given all 6. Although there are some characters who can do different things to get rid of these cards. Other than that, you play the game somewhat normally. It's just a possibility that if you lose, all 3 stones are going to Thanos. The other thing that you have, though, that's going to change these games are power-up cards. You'll have 2 of them. One of them's available, and one of them is placed basically underneath your 3rd of your mission cards. And if you do all 3 mission cards, you automatically get 1. The other one you get by putting tokens on it. So anyone can put a token on it by spending that action, and you're just not using it on something else. So this one sometimes, like this one, works a little bit better because sometimes I have those extra move actions I'm not going to use. And when this is completely done, you're going to get this power-up card, which you're going to be able to use in the final mission against Thanos. And they're pretty simple. In the final mission against Thanos, if I play 2 heroic actions, I automatically get an extra fist. If I play 2 fight actions, I get an extra move. So you're going to get good things, but you're also trying not to give the Infinity Stones to Thanos. Ah, the famed gauntlet here, which, by the way, this is not really that good of quality. It's kind of like almost like a cake. No, it's not. It's very, it almost feels like something you would throw away, the feel of it. But the stones are neat, and they look neat when you put them in. But it's here mostly for visual effect. What's going to happen is, when Thanos comes into play, you're going to be playing against him. There's a few major things. First of all, let's take a look at Thanos himself. Thanos doesn't do a bam when he does a hero. He kills that hero. That hero is gone. And you have to bring in another hero. That's kind of interesting, right? Like a backup hero. But the fact is, if you lose heroes equal to the number of players in the game, you lose. And also, he's going to be playing extra Master Plan cards and doing 2 damage to each hero on his location and 1 to adjacent locations. He is hard. He also comes with all his bad guys here as threats. You know, there's Ebony Maw, Black Dwarf, Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive. And then he also has these where you need to spend 3 damage to defeat thugs in that location. Then he has cards here, and his cards aren't tremendously, I mean, they're annoying, but I don't know that they're too hard, except this one you heal up to 5 health. And he starts with 7, 10, or 14 health. But it's the Infinity Stones that are going to be in there. Those are going to be part of his deck. All the ones that you let get through. And these stones do really horrible stuff. Like this one here, the Soul Stone, gives Thanos 6 health. And he can go above his starting value. Here, completed missions go back into play, the Reality Stone. Here, from the rest of the game with the Mind Stone, you have to play your card randomly. With the Space Stone, you have to ignore 1 movement each turn. The Power Stone does 1 damage to each hero in the game. That's maybe the least annoying one. And here, play 2 other Master Plan cards in sequence with the Time Stone. These are really nasty, so it's going to be really hard to beat him. You do have the power-ups, but you also have one more thing. You have gold locations. These are copies of some other locations that are in play. The Wakanda Fields Avenger Mansion. The main difference, they start full of civilians, all of them. And Thanos likes to take civilians out. So there's a few possibilities, like Spider-Man can do some great things with this, but for the most part, these are much more deadly. The whole thing's deadly. I've never beaten it, and it will give you a challenge. This is an interesting expansion for me. I think it does the most different, other than the Sinister Six, it does the most different things in the game. It gives you a bit of a campaign to play through, and I like the fact that you can really plug in any villains. You could have Thanos come, and you have Green Goblin, Carnage, and Loki as his lieutenants. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It doesn't really change stuff. It's hard, folks. I played against Thanos. I pretended that I beat his lieutenants and went up against him. I think I picked 4 Infinity Stones. Whew. He walloped me. Giving him the Infinity Stones makes him incredibly difficult, and I thought his lieutenants were hard. Each of his lieutenants is difficult, and you're likely going to give 1 stone, 6 cards. I've almost never have beaten a villain before they play their 6 cards. And 10 cards, that happens to me often. And so the very first time I played it, the first person I played gave him 3 stones. And then the next one gave him 3 stones. I was like, all right, let's try this again. I went back, and then I gave 2, 2, and 2. So either way, I played against him. He's really difficult. Now, there are a lot of people who think Marvel United's too easy. This expansion's for them. You'll enjoy this. And I do like the theming of it, even though I think it's very difficult. And even though I personally wouldn't want to play against Thanos that often, I like that this exists and that it gives you something. And it is, I think it's weird, but him killing a hero and taking them out, and then you're like, here's a backup hero. That's kind of fun. Like, oh, and you did not know Peter Parker is coming in now. You took out Doctor Strange, but I got somebody else. So that's fun. So if you want the game to be much more difficult, and you want to play a little bit of a campaign, because you need to play 4 games. It's not very long. A game takes 30 minutes in this universe. This is one that you would want to check out. So that's the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved.